perfection, light. In this moment, finding the willingness of the heart to accept that only love, perfection exists. And it is all that you are. Not the you that seems to be separate, but the divine, eternal, innocence that is waiting to be remembered. In this remembering, the discovery is made that nothing ever changed, nothing ever altered. Love went nowhere. The eternal light of love is all that has ever existed. And in the heart of that love, you exist. You dwell. You live. In this moment, in this eternal moment, finding the willingness to surrender this day and all that was thought about, all perceptions that were decided were accurate or true, and a willingness to just surrender them all into the hands of God, into the hands of love. Nothing to figure out, nothing to assess. Just allowing the resting, the sinking into love, peace, harmony, joy. And the mind might say, well, I don't know that joy, I don't know that peace. But just the willingness to rest, resting in the promise that only love exists, and finding the deep gratitude. Thank God that only love exists. Thank God there is only eternal life. Thank God there is only love, only union, only wholeness. And breathing into this moment and finding the willingness that as you surrender this day, surrender this past week and all of the past that runs behind it, in a seeming separate journey, the willingness to surrender the future into love, into God, placing the future in the lap of love, allowing the future to unfold in harmony and peace, no longer holding a fear of needing to control anything, but allowing the divine movement of love to move and flow through you and with you and as you. And in this holy surrender, the willingness to surrender all beliefs of differences into the hands of God, all the ways that humanity has been held as different identities, and all the identity of differences that have included different problems, all surrendered. And breathing into this moment, breathing deeply and fully, giving this day the willingness to breathe, relaxing. Breathing into every cell, inviting every cell to awaken to the truth of oneness. And breathing into every muscle, every tendon, into the bloodstream, breathing and surrendering all the energy bodies into the hands of God. And continuing to breathe deeply, not wanting to hold anything back, any need for control of the breath, allowing, breathing deeply into the throat, surrendering the throat into the hands of God, willing to receive. Breathing into the neck, surrendering all holding that may have been involuntarily, seemingly happening. Any holding that has been unconsciously joined or consciously joined, letting it all go right now. Breathing. Breathing into the spine. Surrendering the spine into the hands of God. Opening the spine as the liquid of love, no longer held as separate, as mine. Breathing into the shoulders, arms and hands, willingly resting, relaxing. And now breathing into the heart, inviting the heart to come forward, open and available, undefended, and affirming that there is nothing to defend. That in love, in innocence, defenselessness, and in that agreement, that joining in defenselessness, love can be revealed. Love can be seen. Love can be tasted. And breathing into the belly, surrendering all the organs into the hands of God. Not wanting to keep anything in separation, anything in ownership of a separate self. And breathing. Breathing into the hips and thighs, knees, calves, ankles, and feet, all surrendered into love, into God. And now surrendering the emotional body into the hands of God. No longer willing to have the mind run the emotional body and expressing fear, caution, complexities, suspicions, disturbance, all surrendered into love, and willing for the emotional body to express joy and compassion, harmony and peace. And breathing. Breathing and affirming that here, in this infinite circle of love, we are one. One heart and one breath. This sanctuary is filled with love. This universe is all of love. There is only one presence here. It is the life force of God. And within this life force we live and move and breathe as one. Breathing, accepting, holy union. So within this prayer, allow this calling for strength, the strength of love, to hold the truth, asking for the true strength of love, of harmony, the willingness to hold in that strength that there are no enemies, that there are no problems, that love is all that exists. As you say yes with your whole heart, accepting. Oh, my Father, give me strength, give me courage on this road, to be a child of yours on earth and walk the path the Masters showed. Oh, my Mother, help me love, give me comfort to be aware, to obey these sacred teachings. It was your Son who showed the way. Oh, my Master, your compassion can see through this pain, for it was you who came to earth to release us from these chains. Oh, my Father, I am yours. Give me comfort to be aware. Send your angels here to guide me on this sacred path of the sun. Oh, my Father and my Mother, who rule the world of love, send your angels to receive me through the gateway of pure love. To obey these sacred teachings. Every moment, the willingness to accept the sacred teachings and to recognize that obedience is not a battleground. Obedience is the sinking into gratitude for the truth and the gratitude that what you've believed in this world is not true. Gratitude that, thank God, only love is real. Willingness to accept and to be shown the way. In this prayer, affirming the truth of your divine self, that you are indeed the purity of life, that you are indeed the path that opens the door to love, that opens the door to remember the truth of God, that you are here, that you are everywhere where there are beloveds gathered in the name of love. You are there. And in the name of God, you choose to be there. You are the light. You are the torchbearer. You are the child. You are the Father. You are the Divine Spirit. You are the bringer of light to all of creation in your yes to love. The willingness to accept. The light is here. The light is who you truly are. Sou a vida, sou o caminho, eu sou o puro e eterno amor. Sou a chave da porta estreita que vos leva de volta ao Senhor. Estou aqui, eu estou lá, eu estou sempre em todo lugar. Onde estiver irmãos reunidos em meu nome, eu ali estou. Sou a luz, sou o teu cheiro, eu sou o mestre ensinador. Sou filho, sou pai, sou Espírito Santo e sou vosso Redentor. As you accept the truth of light within you, you cannot serve two masters. As you accept the light within you, the belief of difficulties and conflicts falls away. The two do not coexist. And love does not battle. Accepting only love. Accepting and embracing only harmony and peace. Accepting and resting in the one heart. And in this acceptance you accept for all of humanity and with all of humanity, and no one is left in any other state of forgetting. Your heart remembers. The beloved one known as Hafiz opens the door, falling on a soft mat. More attentive than any lover or parent is God. But our gauge of judgment is impaired by the world's values, and our bodies often dominate over our spirit realm. A young child first learning to walk and very likely to fall may be allowed to do so by a wise guardian or teacher. If there is a soft mat beneath its body that will cushion it from harm, there is a soft rug you can place around others, it is forgiveness. It is charity. We are all still learning to walk and fly in ways, and beloveds help each other. And I am related to everything. You cannot judge or gauge the truth of God by the world's values, by the identities that have been placed through the ego identity of limitation. There's a beautiful teaching that says the light of God is so pure and so brilliant that it is almost impossible to speak of. So let your awareness expand and be taken into the truth of love. You won't find the truth of love in the misperceptions of the world. When a young child is first learning to walk, and very likely to fall, it is often the wise teacher that allows that falling. This is the teaching of not knowing what is most helpful for every beloved to walk through. It's not judging the circumstances and not judging what anything looks like as bad or good, but accepting and trusting that the divine will not allow them to lose their way so totally that they won't be able to find their way home. That we don't know what is most helpful for any beloved, what their journey needs to look like, and what teachings they need to walk through to really remember. This is one of the big leaps of faith in the world, is to trust that every beloved is perfectly held in their journey, and that we truly don't know what that journey needs to look like, but even beyond that the healing for every beloved is the extraction of value given to form as one being better than another, so that this becomes a good lesson and this becomes a bad lesson. But we don't know, because there are no good lessons and bad lessons. There are no more difficult lessons and less difficult lessons. I always hear the voice of a TV character that says, "Watch out, this is the big one. This is a really tough challenge." That is always the ego identity of value that's given to a particular perception of what things mean. And all it does is cause pain. And all it does is stop the beloved from trusting that God's will for you is always peace and joy. Always. But the peace and joy is in the recognition that I will not be without. God will not leave me without on this journey. And whatever I am seeing through the lens of my own perceptions. And the less that I judge, when I surrender those judgments of what this means and what it should look like, grace, divine ease is invited in. When you judge the circumstances of anything it becomes a battle. It becomes a place of fear. And then it seems like a struggle. More attentive than any lover or parent is God to us. And our bodies often dominate over our spirit realm. This is where all the pain is. When we forget and we try to associate the blessings of divine love with what we know in the world. So every moment to open to, I will not be left without. I cannot be left without. I have been promised. I have been promised a journey of remembering. And I say yes to that journey, and it does not have to be difficult. It is not difficult. The resistance to the letting go is what is perceived as difficult. It's just resistance. Allow, allow, allow. And remember constantly that this divine love, this divine grace, this divine perfection is all that is flowing, all that is the truth of every beloved. And just get into the boat and let yourself be taken on the river of love. The ego would demand that that is not possible to get into the boat and let the river take you. The ego would say, that's a disaster waiting to happen. To trust the power of love. The ego would say, my world will fall apart if I don't keep on top of things and figure everything out. You can keep on believing that for 1,000 more years. 10,000 more years. At some point, every beloved will take that leap. Sometimes it's just sticking a toe in the water, but it's to embrace and accept that there is a way of being in this journey, this seeming journey, relaxing, resting, and allowing, and trusting. This is often when the child falls. Don't consider the falling to be terrible, a problem, something negative. The falling can be the divine grace that you learn from. If the house burns down, and you have the opportunity in that house burning down to remember, and to recognize and to realize, I survived, and not just survived, but nothing happened. Everything is still here. The house burned down. Everything is still here. When the house is burning down, the ego wants to say, this is terrible. This is a disaster. I will be losing. But the I, the divine I, cannot be altered. and is not dependent on anything on the outside. Divine Spirit. To recognize the Spirit. To accept the innocence and beauty that is always present, that is all that has ever been. Everything around you may fall away, but the eternal light that you are cannot be changed, cannot be altered. Imagine a day, and it can be today, it can be this moment, where somebody says to you, your partner is leaving you, your house is burning down, you're losing your job, the body is starting to go, and you laugh. You laugh. Because nothing has actually changed. Nothing is possible to really change that is true. Love cannot be changed. You can laugh because there's nothing to lose. Nothing to lose. All that is true, all that is light, all that is God, all that is perfection, harmony, peace, cannot be changed. Ever. Never has been. This cannot be conceptualized or understood with the mind. How it is possible that everything that is seen through the senses seems to be all separate and seems to be different and seems to have value and degrees, and yet all is the same divine equality of love. Those two elements cannot be reconciled. But one will fade away when it's no longer wanted as the seeming battleground of life. There's a beautiful teaching grievances. Every time there is a grievance held, the false identity is saying, I do not accept the journey of healing and remembering. It's important to recognize this, because the ego identity is very comfortable with grievances. They seem pretty natural. They seem pretty accepted. And sometimes more than accepted, they're expected. They're expected because you have a perception that is coming from your belief of separation, and what you see is shown back to you, and you perceive that grievances are not only acceptable but necessary. They're necessary to protect and defend. They're necessary to be safe. But in your life, whether you've lived one lifetime or you've lived 10,000, it's all the same. And in those lifetimes, you have never found yourself to be safe. You've never found a place of safety in the world. No one has. There's always that around the corner probability, and if it isn't a problem, it's the eventuality of death that becomes the big bet. And here is love calling you to trust that all of these belief in grievances will never keep you safe. The insanity of the ego affirms, and we all have the same description of insanity. It's doing the same thing again and again and expecting a different result. And that insanity is the relationship to grievances. Now, how does the ego get around that so it doesn't seem so obvious? It uses form. It changes everything up all the time. So it looks like new grievances all the time. So it looks like new problems. So things look different. Different faces, different circumstances, different situations, different degrees, different values. This is the big one. But they're all the same. And when it is questioned and when you choose love, the man behind the curtain is exposed. That all the players and all the grievances and everything was all the same. It just looked all different. And it fools you every time. No, really, but this one's really different. This one's really a problem. This one's really irritating. This one's the big one. The other element that the ego loves to use is to parse it up into smaller bits. So that all day long you have tiny grievances, tiny irritations. They may not seem so tiny in the moment, but they're small, they're not like big crises. So the ego says, I can handle those. I can solve those. I can be a little irritated. I can avoid them, or I can attack them back, or I can run them through my mind again and again and again, but they're small. They're just, that's what the world is. It's just a place of difficulty. Mm-hmm. And it's accepted as normal. But there's nothing normal about it. It's insane. To call it insane is not an indictment. To call it insane is to recognize it is not sanity. Sanity is love. Sanity is harmony and peace and joy. It is your natural state. But when you believe in the insanity, it's important to recognize it for what it is and not to be offended by the exposure of the insanity. That's one of the ego's great strategies too, is to be offended. When the teacher says, it'll be helpful if you fall down, then you may recognize the insanity more easily for what it is, and it's helpful. Sometimes it's helpful to come up against those edges that you can't manipulate and you can't figure out and you can't change. It's not an indictment and it's not a punishment. It's to stop and recognize there has to be another way. I've forgotten my source. I have forgotten to ask for help. I've forgotten that there is a journey of remembering that I'm here for, and not to try to solve and manipulate and figure things out on my own. The grievances. Grievances are the expression of pain. That's what grievances really are. They are affirming constantly that pain is true. Pain is, you're deserving. Because there is not a moment that you have a grievance of some kind, that the grievance is not about you. It always wants to look like it's out there. But it's all that identity of self-hatred that believes it deserves punishment. And everyone who has held grievances, even when you believe that they're righteous, even in your most belief that they're righteous, they are your pain. You can't get rid of them far enough. You can't put them on somebody else deeply enough that you will not suffer with them. You can try. You can try the hot potato and project them onto somebody else. That if somebody else would just straighten up, I'd be fine. If somebody else would be saner, I'd be fine. As soon as that there is a judgment, there is pain. The ego, in its manipulations, doesn't want you to feel the pain all at once, or you'd drop to your knees and you would say, I give up. I can't stand this. And sometimes you get to that. But most of the time, it just stays just comfortable enough that you feel righteous. And that righteousness somehow placates enough that you continue thinking that you're right. Being right is like an engine that propels the grievances. You get a high from being right. It's a pleasure source. It's a substitute for love. It never will bring you to love, but it will give you a certain sense of satisfaction, like you think you won something, like you got something. But it never brings you to peace, and it never brings you to harmony, and it never brings you to joy, because it lives in its own world of pain and suffering. And sometimes when you're on that road of grievances, they become so habitual that it's like you're on a treadmill, or a chipmunk in a cage, just going around and around and around, and the mind is like hooked into finding grievances with everything. And how do you stop and get yourself unhooked? There's always within you the little willingness. Always. There is no beloved that is ever without that beautiful, divine, pure willingness within. It can be the tiniest thread. The tiniest thread. But that willingness is there. Oh, my Father, give me strength. Give me courage on this road. to be a child of yours on earth and walk the path that the Masters show. This is the prayer. When your mind is hooked and it's off and running and you can't find a way to stop and breathe and recognize there's another way. But find that little willingness. It's always there. It's the purity of your true self. Always, always available. The purity of God. The purity of the Holy Spirit is always in that little willingness. The relationship to grievances is wrapped and held in the belief that you are a victim, that there is only a victim and that you're living as a victim. And you see everything through the lens of being a victim. The identity of the victim has to believe, there's only one belief that's really running, which is not only am I separate, that runs the whole show, but the belief that everything is being done to you, that everything is happening to you, and that you're a victim also of your own belief that you are unworthy of love. There are no perpetrators. Every beloved who has been identified as a perpetrator in this world, which is all of humanity. Because in the belief of duality, to be a victim, there has to be a perpetrator. To be a perpetrator, there has to be a victim. But in actuality, everyone is believing that they are victims. Every belief in being a perpetrator, which is every beloved who has ever had a judgment, is actually believing that they are a victim. Mm-hmm. There are no perpetrators in this world that do not believe that they are victims. They act out of the belief of retaliation because they believe that they have been damaged and altered and unloved. And they have forgotten, as humanity has forgotten, that love is all that exists, and that you've never been anything else but love. And then that identity can just fall away, and love is remembered. But how do you step out of this belief of identity of being a victim? Forgiveness. Not the forgiveness that the world has made. Not the forgiveness that says, I'm going to be magnanimous and I'm going to forgive you for your horribleness. I'm not going to forget, but I'm going to forgive. The true forgiveness recognizes that everything has been a mistaken identity, and that you are willing truly to accept that you are whole, holy, divine, eternal, and that whatever mistaken identity you've carried about yourself and others is forgiven. It's washed away. It disappears. I sometimes use the example of forgiveness that in the world when a country owes a lot of money to another country or to a central bank of some kind, And when that country can't repay, the loan can be forgiven. And in that forgiveness, the loan disappears. It's washed away. It doesn't exist. This is the forgiveness, the washing away. It does not exist. I remove my identity of who I think you are and who I think I am. I remove it. I take that belief, I put it into the bonfire of love to be burned, to be completely surrendered. I let it go. I give up what I think I know, and I accept the truth of love. I accept holiness. I accept innocence. But you cannot accept innocence without accepting it for everyone. That is why all these healings come through relationships. Because humanity is the divine, but is seen as a fragmented self. But every beloved is you. Every beloved is the divine spirit of love. The flower, the petals of the flower, all divine, all perfect, all one. You cannot come home into the flower without all of humanity coming with you. You cannot be accepted as the divine by your own heart without accepting it for everyone, because everyone is you. You can't take one cell and say, well, this cell is the divine, but all the other cells in the universe are not. All cells, all molecules, all of the entire universe, all of creation is all love. And every beloved is your reflection. Every beloved. No exceptions. And every beloved is reflecting to you what you believe. If you want to see what you believe, look at someone and watch the judgments and what you think you know about them, and these judgments will tell you what you think about yourself, what you believe in. Your schoolroom is right there, the mirror is right there. It's perfect. I don't like how you walk. Turn it toward you and see the reflection, because you believe within yourself that you are damaged and without perfection, and you believe that you are a body. Just in that silly statement of, I don't like the way you walk, you have identified that you believe that beloved is a body, that they are their external form that is temporary, and you have judged them to be that temporariness, and you have to be judging yourself to be that temporariness also. Every judgment, every opinion, every grievance is saying, I do not accept the wholeness of love. And I don't accept the journey that God has orchestrated so that I can remember. I think I know. I think I know something. And in that is all pain, all difficulty. Can you walk in the world holding the promise that there is nothing outside yourself, that nothing is happening outside yourself, that everything that you believe you're seeing is coming from the belief of separation? Can be a big yes, a big leap of faith to accept that nothing is happening outside. But that's where the peace is. And that's where the healing is. When you are willing to accept only love is here, and everything that I see is just a reflection of what I believe. And everything is the oneness of all creation with me. No exceptions. Do we need help with this? Absolutely. In walking in the journey of remembering, when the journey became seemingly difficult was when I was saying no to help. When I was saying no, I know. I know something. When I said, help me, help please, then all of heaven, I didn't always have the awareness of it, but the more that I said, please help me, the more everything unfolded in divine harmony. It was the letting go of the resistance, that there is nothing to fight with, that the only thing that is fighting is your own mind, your own beliefs of pain and suffering. The mind would say, this can't possibly be true. I feel it, I experience it, I live it, and yet all the masters keep promising the same thing. Only love is true. I could see peace instead of this, of what I'm believing that I'm seeing, if I can accept, if I can let go, trust. And the trusting is essential in the willingness to accept that God's will for you as you walk in this journey of remembering is happiness and peace. And the happiness and peace really comes from the recognition within of, oh, thank God I wasn't right. Thank God what I believed was not true. Thank God there really is not a battle that I believe I have to fight. In my defenselessness is all harmony and peace. Surrendering grievances. The grievance that ends up really being surrendered is the grievance that you believe that you are lost, that you are without, that you are not in the grace of love at every moment, and that there is scarcity, that there is a scarcity of love. The more you open to love, the more abundance you're aware of. The more that you offer love instead of grievances, the more that you offer peace and harmony, the more you recognize the fullness of that love. When you offer forgiveness, you become aware of love. Because the chains of pain and suffering are broken off. And you can now rest in love, truly rest. What is it to rest in God? It's the letting go of the mind. The letting go of what you think you know about anything in the moment, and just resting, coming back, that you can rest in God, that you're resting in the promises that love is real, that love is eternal, that you are eternal, that the light is all that you are. You're resting in the grace of love and letting go of what the mind is dictating. In that way, you're not battling with the mind. You're not battling at all. You're turning away from what is not true and turning toward what is. Imagine yourself, and I've used this example often, but imagine yourself as Daniel in the lion's den, and you're thrown to the lions, and the lions are coming after you, and you breathe, and you turn to the light, and you turn away from the lions. This is the symbolic expression of turning away from the belief of battle and difficulty and pain and suffering, and turning to the truth. Oh, my Father, give me strength. Give me courage on this road to be a child of yours on earth and walk the path that the Master showed. Let me refuse to accept all old beliefs of battle and pain and suffering, surrendering it all into the hands of God for transformation. And I say yes to the light. I say yes to the beauty, to the peace that is here available now. I can't necessarily see it yet because I'm still in the dream of the difficulty. But I'm saying yes, and I will there be light, and I want to see the light. I want to see it. Not just with the eyes, but the heart. The heart wants to see the light. The light in everyone. The light in everything. I want to see that light. I don't want to be right about what I thought I knew. That's the prayer. I don't want to be right anymore. I'll be happily mistaken to see the light. Be happily mistaken to rest in the light, to live as the light. At first, it seems like the light is something separate from you. You want to see the light so you can recognize the truth. But eventually, you come to the realization that the light is you, and the you falls away. And the beauty of light in all of its expressions is dancing. Beauty of light. All innocence. Can you accept that you're innocent? Can you accept your innocence? Really? I have done nothing? I have done nothing. This is not a defense trying to put it on somebody else. Well, they did something. I didn't do it. I have done nothing, and no one has done anything. What is that? How could that be? And yet, the innocence of love is the truth. The letting go of all knowing of this world, of the belief of damage, of the belief of wrongdoing, of the belief of separation. Almost everyone has heard in some way the teaching, the offering, the grace. Let me recognize the problem. What is the problem here? The problem is I believe I'm separate. That's the only problem that is ever occurring. I believe I'm separate. I believe in difficulty. It's all the same thing. I believe I'm separate. I believe I'm temporary. I believe I'm lost. I believe I'm without. I believe I'm unloved. I believe I'm unworthy of love. This is all the belief of separation. I believe there's not enough. I believe there is battle. This is all the belief of separation. So recognize the problem. There is only one problem, and that is that you believe you're separate. But the beauty is that in actuality there is no problem, because in actuality you're not separate. Your believing that you're separate does not make it so. Hate to tell you that. Mm-hmm. But just because you believe you're separate, it doesn't have, it's not true. It doesn't make it so. It stays as a belief. It stays as an identity, a false identity, to accept that you are whole and complete with everyone, and that all of humanity is the innocence of God, and all of creation is the innocence of God. Not one exception. No exceptions. All love, all innocence, all beauty, all perfection. But just to accept it. What little battles did you have today? Some of the battles were in form, and some didn't get into form but just stayed in the mind. I've said often that one of the blessings when I was called into seclusion was that in seclusion I could see the insanity of the mind so much more easily, because there wasn't a distraction that I thought that there were other ones involved in my battles. I didn't need anybody else there to be in battle. The mind was doing all the battling until it was, the battle's all here, and there's no other body here. There's nothing happening, and yet the battle is still here. And in that is the recognition, I can let this go. This is not true. This is the mind that has been in battle, in the belief of separation. And all the pain that is coming through the communication in the body is coming from the battle within the mind. We're called to peace. We're called to love. We're called to truth, harmony. Sometimes the word charity is used or thrown around. Charity is the benevolence of the heart. Benevolence. The charity that says, I truly want to give and offer the truth. I want to see you as the beloved. This is the divine charity. This is the grace that is coming from compassion, from wanting to extend that love in charity. Sometimes charity is thought of as giving something material to someone, and sometimes it can be. Sometimes that manifestation can come through the physical form. But it's coming from the intention of wanting to offer love. Not fixing something, not getting something better than, or making things look better, but the intention of offering love, and this is the most helpful expression in this moment. But it's always the intention, and that is where the charity is, the benevolence of love. That you see that love is being called for in the moment, and that you are ready to offer that love. When you want to offer love, you can't help but offer love. Now you can say, well, I really wanted to, but they were being so obnoxious I couldn't. No, you really didn't want to offer love. You wanted to be right because you're the one who's seeing them as obnoxious. To want to offer love, it automatically is offered. And that's within you. And when you offer that love, you are filled with that love. Let your heart burst open. What are you saving it for? I don't know. There's a whole story that says, if I open my heart, I will be hurt. There is no hurting in love. You can experience it as so excruciatingly beautiful that you can interpret it as pain. Mm-hmm. But when you open your heart, all of humanity is healed. There's a belief in the ego identity that says, well, maybe I'll just dole it out a little bit at a time. Because it's kind of like having a pie. And you want to save some. Believing in scarcity. Want to hold some back. Or, save some for a rainy day. No. Just let it rip. Let it rip open and offer love. At least to have the intention. You may not have the direct recognition of your heart bursting open in that moment, but once you have the intention and you hold that intention that in this moment I'm saying yes, as deeply as I can. As deeply as I can, that I want to see the beloved and I want to offer love. And I want to offer that charity. I want to offer compassion. Not to get something, not to fix something, not because I think that there is something that needs fixing, but because there is only the flow of love, and it is what I'm here for. Not to get anything. Because everything is already whole and complete. But to recognize the beauty and the grace in that river flowing of love. And to open to that divine awareness of, I am that. I am, I am, I am. And only love exists. Right here, right now, this is all love. Just receive and find that wanting to continue to offer it. That's all. It's not complicated. It's not in levels, it's not in degrees, it's just, I say yes. Take this love. In the hymn, take this love, wear it in your heart. Receive this love and give it freely. This is the call. Take this love, receive it, and give it freely. Every divine master is offering love. Every angel, every divine being, all of love is offering love all the time. Receive that truth, the love, and then offer it. Let it flow. Revel in it, and then let it flow. There's nothing to have to hold on to, because there's never a lack. How often I say there's nothing to gain, there's nothing to prove, there's nothing to win. There never is any winning in love. There's never any gain in love. There's never any proving in love. All of that, all of those beliefs of gaining, winning, proving, that's all built on the belief of limitation and separation, that there isn't enough, and that you have to get yours, you have to win something. To win something is to believe that there is something to lose. To gain something is that there's something to lose. To prove something is that there's something that can be unproven. It doesn't exist. And that's the resting. That's when you really rest. And let go of the tiredness. Let go of the battle of journey. And just be willing to walk on those flower petals easily and effortlessly until the realization is, oh, it was here the whole time, in love, as love, with love. And nothing ever happened. And the dream fades away, just is gone. The nightmare is gone. And love is remembered. Nothing else, just remembered. And don't be afraid that you'll be bored. The belief of boredom is one of the seductions of the ego. The belief that there is something boring about not being in battle, not being in anticipation, not being in anxiety of some kind, or having to plan or accomplish something. All of that seems, in some upside down way, exciting, because there's an adrenaline rush that is mistaken as happiness. There is no boredom in love. Mm-hmm. There's peace, and it is mistaken by the ego as boredom, because it isn't filled with excitement and anticipation of anything. Everything is. And everything is enough, because everything is everything. There's nothing missing. There's nothing to do without. Everything is right here. And the willingness to accept that. It's just acceptance at first, because it's not what you know. So it's the willingness to let go of what you think you know and sink and allow. I can't tell you how many, probably thousands of times in the seeming journey that I would remember, oh, that's right, there's nothing to do. Oh, that's right. There's nothing to figure out. Oh, that's right. Everything is in harmony. Oh, that's right. There's nothing happening. Everything is love. And just to keep coming back again and again and again and again. Every time there would be a movement of familiar, I got to do something. Oh, that's right. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because love will direct me, and everything is in harmony. And I can rest in this harmony and trust that I will be shown, because I am so loved. Because I am so revered by love. Love reveres itself because love is. And to accept that you are so loved, and that you, as that love, cannot leave its source. To accept you are loved is to go against everything that you've known. To let go of the identity of separation. To let go of all belief of grievances, difficulties. Putting everything into the hands of God and accepting the divine alchemy of love's healing. Just accepting. So in this moment,